My earliest experience with modding is actually with Deus Ex and the Nameless Mod. It's been going for 7 years now. I had wanted to do some sort of like fan fiction with modding and include the people from the Planet Deus Ex forums as sort of just a little fun thing to do. And after starting on that, everyone wanted to be involved, and we've been working on it for the last 7 years, so that's basically been the total sum of my modding career. I sort of wanted to do my own thing, so I started to do a little map that featured some of the members, and it basically, from that point, grew a bit out of control as I started reading more tutorials, and there was some really great documentation in the Deus Ex community about what you could do. It was really kind of inspiring to see what you could do as you followed these tutorials through. As more people became interested and joined, it just kept growing from there, and the more we did, the more excited we got about everything, and it just kind of ballooned from there.
You is almost always someone who thinks they're cool, but obviously
I didn't really even make a conscious choice. It was just, I discovered modding with Deus Ex. That's what I started using, so that's the engine that we used, and I mean, it really turned out quite well because the kind of game that we wanted to make included, well, all the RPG elements from Deus Ex that the engine is so good at, so it really ended up working out well. We kind of shaped the mod to match Deus Ex, which works really well with the engine.
Today is a great day.
I'd written a small little story that really made no sense at the beginning, and for the first maybe 2 years we did basically headless chicken development, where we all ran around in circles, banging into walls and tripping over each other and really getting nothing done. And then Jonas rewrote the story, just cleaned it up, made it make a lot more sense. And from there, it was probably refined, like major refinements, at least twice more before we got what we have now. And it's something that we're really happy with, something that has a lot of depth to it and a massive amount of freedom for the player. And just, it's much more detailed than anything that we had imagined when we started out, and we're definitely very happy with it.
Run, Forrest! Run!
In the first years, it was distributed probably evenly between myself and Jonas. Did a lot of the planning and he did the writing, and I did some mapping. And nowadays, Jonas, I would say, is definitely doing the bulk of the work. He's sort of become the linchpin in the project, where because he wrote the story and he wrote all the conversations in the conversation editor, he basically knows exactly where everything is and how it fits in. So a lot of the bug fixing and everything currently is falling to him. I primarily do team management, which is, as you'll find out, and as you know if you work on a mod, is a massive part of it, especially with a team as large as we have. It takes a lot of effort to make sure everybody is pointing in the same direction and actually getting things done. We've really been lucky in that we've had the core sort of 4 to 6 people on the team, and I mean, without them, the whole thing would have fallen apart a long time ago. Myself, I've used a lot of 3D Studio Max, which, well, I've used it for all the modeling that I've done. Another one of our modelers uses, I believe it's Cinema 4D, and he's done almost all of our models. Yeah, it must be really good because he turns out a lot of good stuff. We've used a lot of Gold Wave for audio editing. With the massive amounts of voice acting that we have, you really have to have something good, and Gold Wave really makes everything very easy. Of course, Photoshop has been a huge one for all our textures, and we have a lot of custom textures. I use it, Jonas uses it, anyone that does any of our texture work, and especially our graphics artists, use a lot of Photoshop. And then I guess the other major software that we use is SVN software, version control for all our files. It's just something that we discovered, well, one of our coders turned us on to it maybe 2 years ago, and it's just absolutely invaluable for distributing your content to all your team members to ensure that you're all working on the same files. You can easily update them, you can comment all your changes. SVN has, I'd say, saved us at least 6 months of development time.
Because a single moderator is missing, you'd think the other two could handle it, right?
One of the major challenges is the voice acting, which has been no end of trouble. Another major one has been storyline sort of cohesion. When we started, we really had no idea what we were doing, so everything was kind of just thrown together, and we really didn't know if it would work or not. We just kind of assumed that it would work, which is why the story has been rewritten so many times. And with the way we have the storylines worked out, there's 2 parallel and completely unique storylines, and making them actually operate properly with all the different choices that the player can make and having the game respond logically has been a massive challenge. It's something that beta testing has really been helping to smooth out, but we never really expected the amount of problems that introduced into the project. The other major challenge would just be, as it is with most mods, getting people to reliably do work.
I think I'd rather kill you and cash in from Skara King.
We started compiling alpha builds, which were not really alpha builds, probably 2 years ago, which would include the first level, and it kept the team motivated, and it's fun to be able to download something and actually install it and then play it. We started real beta testing in July I believe. We have about 10 beta testers right now, 10, I think it's around 10. We had one group of beta testers first, and they ran through the game and discovered really massive bugs, and a lot of them. So we fixed those, and then we would just release. So that was beta 1, and then we released beta 1.5, and they did a bit more testing, and now we're at beta 2, and we've let on the second round of beta testers. We use I think it's PHP bug tracker. I think we have over 1,000 bugs in the system, and most of them are fixed, but it's just really nice to be able to keep track of them, tick them off. You can sort them by severity, so fix the most problematic bugs. Our betas are actually not open to the public. With a single player mod, we're going for one massive, highly polished release, and I think it's going to work quite well that way. Everyone's had to wait for a long time, but it's going to be worth it.
Status report written cache.
What we've done is we've finally, and most mods don't like to do this, we haven't liked to do it because we've been wrong before, but with the state of the project where it is, we finally set a release date, so it's going to be released on January 24th, 2009, which is about 2 years later than we actually thought that we would end up releasing it.
Time to think outside the box, Trestkon.
If you want to make a mod, definitely what we've learned is planning is key. You have to plan every detail that you can. If you have to spend 6 months on planning, it's worth it. And once you've done that planning, don't change it. If you can, keep your team small. If you can't, get used to managing people, because that is what you're going to be doing. Make your milestones something that will motivate your team. We've had a lot, that's why we have been doing periodic builds, even from the very earliest ridiculously small alphas. It's just something that you give your team a build and they can install it and see where everything is going. It's really something that will increase the productivity of your team, I think.
You don't think the Great Llama would waste the garden talents of us two on nothing, do you? I guess you're right. But to be honest, though, I'm not really sure I believe in the Great Llama. I'm mostly here to beat up those pansy goat worshippers.